Hi, my name is Pickle, and I set a goal of aim training for 24 hours straight. Instead of doing a weekly routine for 20 minutes every day like a normal person, I thought, hey, why not try it all in one sitting? If you don't know what aim training is, it's pretty simple. Imagine training muscle memory for a sport, like a baseball swing, but it's all located in your wrist movement. So here we are, all of this just to click heads better. Before we get into the 24-hour grind session, I made a list of what I'll be focusing on. Each one with multiple playlists for each topic, being tracking, clicking and switching, and fundamentals. I'll be playing playlists from each topic for 4 hours straight, for 12 hours total. Twice. My biggest issue when it comes to aiming is the fact that I aim like I have Parkinson's disease. My sensitivity is really high and I don't have much mouse space. For example, my base DPI is 1.8K, with my Valorant sense being 0.9. If you haven't noticed, I use Kovacs for my aim training, because I bought it in 2015 when aim labs used to look like this, so I intend to use my money. Anyway, starting off strong with tracking playlists for the first 4 hours. These 4 playlists are just you following the orbs or sticks with your mouse as closely as possible, for as long as possible. And my first playlist being Smooth Regen, being by far the most frustrating playlist due to every orb regenerating health if you don't lock on. Nothing is more frustrating than getting an orb to 1 HP just a whiff in the end, and these things are tiny. Playing through these tracking playlists for the first 4 hours was very therapeutic. Other than Smooth Regen, just tracking an orb while listening to music is a feeling like no other. The rest of the tracking playlists were pretty much all the same, just a big change in the shape of the orb and the map is the only difference. When it came to aiming, I wasn't sure if I should actively be trying to control my mouse or if I should be autopiloting my own movement. In short, should I manually breathe to be more aware of what I'm currently doing? Or do I passively exist and just let my hand do the work? I came to the conclusion that I should be autopiloting my movements for the most muscle memory development. If you disagree or have a different take about this, let me know in the comments below. After completing 4 hours of tracking, we then move on to clicking and switching targets for another 4 hours. The main objective of clicking and target swapping is speed and precision. Probably the most fun part of the whole challenge, because the games I play don't really require much tracking but more of flicking and target switching. There's so much variety when it comes to the clicking and switching maps compared to just tracking a ball or stick. But compared to tracking, I noticed that flicking is much easier on my wrist and overall stamina. When it comes to aim training, most people would just assume that this is what aim training is, and what you would be doing for 90% of the time. Which is true for people who just want to warm up for 15 minutes and focus on flicks compared to fundamentals. But the playlist that helped me out the most was definitely the Stop Over Flicking You Papega Ass. Due to higher sensitivity, having a higher chance of me over-aiming my target. This playlist specifically helped guide my aim towards more precision instead of fast, thoughtless ADHD movement I'm used to. But as the 4 hours started to come to an end, I started to feel a little strain on my wrist after 7 hours. I know, shocker. So I decided after I finished a section of the challenge to do a 5-minute wrist exercise to make sure that my hand doesn't fall off. Lastly, we have the fundamentals playlist to finish off the halfway point in our 24-hour challenge. The fundamentals section of this challenge is a mix of everything. Click focus, conditioning, tracking, everything. It's the melting pot of aim training. This part of the 24 hours felt like the biggest drag of the entire thing. There wasn't a main focus for any of these playlists, just kind of slogging through each scenario. You would play through each scenario 3 to 5 times and just aim for the highest score over and over again, but it gets boring real quick. Being forced to play through a frustrating scenario and not getting any enjoyment out of it really fatigued my endurance. But I pulled through and played a compilation of everything, knowing in the back of my head, the finish line for this challenge would be very bad. I'm assuming these fundamental playlists were meant to be played as warm-up sets and were not designed for me to be spamming them all in one sitting. So I'll cut it some slack due to spamming warm-up sets over and over and over again. There were a lot of repeat maps used in these playlists that were in tracking and target switching sections, which had limited variety. Due to lack of fun and ignorance, I asked my Twitch chat, streamed on twitch.tv/pickle, link in description, for fundamental scenarios, and I got hooked on one map called Piano Tiles. It's 100% the highlight of the fundamentals section. It's a target switch map that has falling tiles you have to click on before they drop to the floor. I spammed this map and got a high score of 90, very unbeatable. After a couple more playlists, I managed to squeeze myself through the fundamentals section. After working on fundamentals, we wrap all the way back around to tracking. At the halfway point in this challenge, I was definitely running on autopilot when it came to these aim maps. So I'd like to show the difference 12 hours of aim training straight did to my mouse control. So this is my tracking at the start of my challenge. And this is my tracking 12 hours into my challenge. Not a massive difference, but a little bit steadier on the target. Sitting in a seat for 12 hours straight really mellows you out in the aim department, but definitely ruins you in the mental wellness department, with smooth regen being as miserable as ever. Every other playlist in this section was relaxation mode. After playing through all these track maps, I really enjoyed the thick stick tracking due to simplicity. With a strained forearm and the increased withered mentality, I pushed forward and turned into a budget aimbot. Side note, when I'm tracking orbs, the way I control my mouse is by letting my arm hang off my desk, like this, and using my wrist to control my mouse flicks. Well, 12 hours in, I noticed that I was cutting my wrist blood circulation due to my arm just hanging off and pressing against my desk. The cherry on top being I had no mousepad for my desk. I raw dogged aiming for this entire challenge with no mousepad. Also, side note for my misery, I'd also like to add that at this point, I was informed that you could just press F3 to reset the scenario in Kovacs. While I'm still on tracking, I'd like to say that these popcorn / bouncy ball maps added into the playlist were a fun challenge, but I feel like they wouldn't have much impact on my gameplay. My reason being, practicing for enemies falling out of the sky is something very niche, but it happens, I guess. Finally, pushing through the tracking section for the last time, we then go back to target switching. It was around 14 hours when I started getting drowsy. The bed was calling my name and I was flicking my wrists on circles. I was slowly losing my mind by listening to music and playing Kovacs on repeat, but I knew this way of aim training was meant to be. The sleep deprivation was really helping me calm my aim, but it was almost stopping me from completing the challenge. I ran the variety of maps and continued to condition myself. At this point, my mindset was at peace. To only aim, track, and flick, these were the only things that I knew. While feeling enlightened, at this point I knew finishing this challenge would be an uphill battle. Playlist after playlist, flick after flick. My wrist had a mind of its own. The only scenario I had enjoyed but didn't get to try much of in these scenarios was pressure aiming. It's the most fun target switching challenge in my opinion, but other than that, mentally I was struggling. Thanking the Lord that piano tiles carried me through, finally I moved on to the last fundamental section. But this final section of the challenge felt like the slowest by far. While working on the final stretch to reach 24 hours, I started to nod off during these challenges. There was a point where I mentally stopped moving my mouse and was just staring at my monitor, thinking I was aim training. This happened multiple times, leaving me dazed and confused, restarting the map over and over again. Being the lowest part of the challenge, my viewers would send me singular fundamental scenarios to help me stay awake. These scenarios were amazing, and unique enough to keep my attention to pull through. I thought they deserved their own section. Scenarios such as First Date Simulator, Cockroach Simulator, and my favorite being Fishing Simulator. Fishing Simulator being the one I played by far. It's such a simple and fun concept, I enjoyed it very much. I still completely finished the other playlist with sheer depression and my soul leaving my body, with my final tracking map being Revolving Tracking Slow. Finally, I had finished the challenge. Through the horrible wrist pains and mental fatigue, I stood on top of aim training.
Oh yes. Finally, 24 hours.
I was able to rot in my chair and aim train for 24 hours, and I completed my goal. I felt accomplished. So, with this newfound accomplishment, I had pushed through the drowsiness and I hopped in the Valorant range to test my aim. And the results weren't great. I kept trying and I was expecting at least a 20 out of 30, but I just kept falling flat.
Unironically, minus 24 hours of my life. Oh my. Something's off, I swear.
It was like Kovacs and Valorant were just two separate games, and my skills just didn't transfer over. After feeling defeated, I then headed to bed with hopes that tomorrow would surely be better. I had the thought process that this entire thing was a fluke due to me being just completely sleep deprived. But sadly, I wasn't satisfied with the payout and how much aim training I had done in one sitting. Feeling frustrated shooting bots wasn't working out, I thought, hey, let me try a deathmatch. And I'm sad to say that it was the exact same results. I was absolutely getting spanked in these death matches, being like completely jittery and uncalm. I noticed in the game setting I was very jumpy and trigger happy, resulting in me just dying over and over and over again. Sadly, it had felt like there was no jump in skill. I had sadly wasted 24 hours of my life sitting in a chair chasing a crack dream. So to not leave the video on a sour note, I did a 2-week routine for aim training after my 24-hour challenge to see the difference. Specifically, I chose the Voltaic Daily Improvement Method. Every day I played a specific playlist that would focus on one topic, such as the ones I had done in the challenge. After experiencing aim training hell, I sadly came to the conclusion that daily training did have much more of an impact than just cramming it all down in one sitting. Shocker. Anyway, I'm sure you're tired of hearing me talking, and I came to the conclusion that no matter how many gunfights you win, or how much aim training you do, at the end of the day, nothing compares to just pure game sense. For 2 weeks, I dedicated myself to these daily routines. With the addition of the 24-hour challenge, these are my results of my aim training.
Very nice.
I'm so fucking hot. Anyway, I'd like to thank you all for watching this video to the end, and please like and subscribe, it's very free. Also, let me know what type of 24-hour challenges you would like to see me do in the comments below. Other than that, thank you for watching.